Former Mayor Catherine Pugh sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Again, I'm apologetic to the citizens of Baltimore. Nobody loves Baltimore more than I do. I don't think this is the last chapter for Catherine Pugh.
The final chapter in a scandal that rocked Baltimore.
Hello, everybody. I'm Denise Cope.
And I'm Vic Carter.
It was a fast fall from grace for the longtime public servant here in Baltimore.
The judge sentenced Pugh to right about the middle of what prosecutors and her defense attorneys had asked for. WJC is live with extensive coverage. We begin with Paul Gessler live at federal court with the sentence and reaction. Paul.
A fast fall indeed. This time last year, the public did not know of this scheme, and now she's facing 3 years in prison. Pugh had faced 35 years up to that for the conspiracy, fraud, and tax evasion charges, but Judge Deborah Chazanow said 3 years would send a message of deterrence. The 3-year prison sentence came after a 3-hour hearing. Catherine Pugh arrived at court Thursday with her attorneys and dozens of supporters. The former Baltimore mayor sat quietly as prosecutors described her actions as something out of a mobster movie. They played this video of a book giveaway at an elementary school. Those Healthy Holly books, the feds say, were stolen property. The event at the height of her scheme, totaling more than $800,000 collected from entities that did business with the city and state.
This investigation was about a story of greed, a story of lying, a story of deceit.
Her attorneys describe Pugh, who turns 70 next month, as a broken woman who has already paid a considerable price of public shame.
I've pled guilty. I'm sorry.
Pugh addressed the court for 12 minutes, her message mirroring that of an apology video released Wednesday. Ultimately, Judge Chazanow met in the middle of the sentencing recommendations: 3 years in prison and 3 years probation.
There's a very clear message that's being told to every elected official, which is we shall not accept corruption any longer.
And this is a tragedy, and it's the last thing that our city needs, especially during the difficult circumstances that we face together.
Pugh cried on several occasions and was embraced by family following the sentence, which she needs to start serving in the next month and a half. An hour after the sentence, she addressed the media outside court.
The first thing I should do is apologize to the citizens of Baltimore. None of this was intentional, what it turned out to be. And today I face the justice system.
The U.S. attorney says he hopes the outcome sends a strong message. Now, of note, Judge Chazanow said she thought it was ironic so many people wrote letters to the court about Senator and Mayor Pugh's public service. The judge said that service is exactly the reason her scheme carried so much weight. It relied on her good reputation. Coming up at 4:30, what the actions were thought of by the IRS agent involved in this case, and former Mayor Pugh's message to her supporters. For now, reporting live outside federal court, I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ.
Thank you, Paul. Our live coverage continues now with Avajoy Burnett.
She has more reaction to today's sentence. Avajoy.
Well, people in the city knew this day was coming, the day the former mayor would be sentenced to time in federal prison. Many of those citizens had an opinion on it.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. That's what I feel.
At Penna North in West Baltimore, word spread on former Mayor Catherine Pugh's prison sentence.
I watched her yesterday 13 minutes with that sad sob, forgive me, I'm sorry. She right. You are, because what you did wasn't right.
You know, she did what she did. I think, she deserves, some time for it.
Across the city in Canton, the opinions didn't change much.
It's her responsibility to do well by the city and the people that are in it. And if she's doing things like this, and then she should be prosecuted for it.
She was a mayor who had high hopes for the city, and people had high hopes for her. Now there's disappointment and sadness.
It's sad because we look to our mayors and governors and presidents to be leaders. And when you see something like that, it just disheartens the whole system.
I really don't think that they should send her to prison, that they should be leaning on her.
In her apologies last night and then again today, one constant was the people, the citizens of Baltimore. She repeatedly apologized to them. Live at 4, Avajoy Burnett for WJZ.
Current city leaders are also speaking out now that the former mayor has been sentenced. Here's City Council President Brandon Scott.
It's a somber moment for the city. The former mayor now is going to have to deal with the actions that she did, her unethical actions. We have to remember that last year I led the council's effort to get her to resign. But just like then, this is a moment for Baltimore to move forward. We cannot and will not be defined by the failed unethical leadership of the past. This is an opportunity for us to break away from that. That's what we've been focused on the council in my short time as council president, closing loopholes, strengthening the ethics laws, trying to build a better city government that's more transparent and accountable to citizens of Baltimore, and that also makes it hard for these things to happen.
There's also a reaction coming in today from Annapolis, where Pugh once represented Baltimore. Political reporter Pat Warren with this part of the story.
Former colleagues view the actions taken by the former delegate, senator, and mayor with regret. Senator Antonio Hayes started at City Hall.
In talking to residents of the city, they are not encouraged by seeing elected officials, people that they put public trust in, to be associated with any allegations of wrongdoing, right?
Senator Mary Washington is now a candidate for mayor.
It's their tax dollars, and when elected officials violate that trust, we're wasting their taxpayer dollars, but we're also contaminating the trust that they need to have in government.
Senator Jill Carter is running for Congress.
It's been a very trying time for the city. My biggest concern is the lack of public trust, the loss of public trust, the tendency for people to become less engaged because they don't trust the elected officials. And so we have to, it's our responsibility, everybody in elected office, to work as diligently as we can to rebuild that trust that's been lost.
The task of rebuilding that trust is already underway.
It's a sad day for the city. It's a sad day for Senator Pugh, but there's work to be done. There's an election to be held, and we have to look to the future and hope it's a bright future.
They look at this with an eye toward the future and the job of repairing the damage. I'm Pat Warren reporting live from Annapolis for WJZ.
WJZ now has the latest on the sentencing of former Mayor Catherine Pugh. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. It follows her guilty plea in the Healthy Holly book scandal. Pugh apologized for her actions, but says this won't be the last that you'll see of her. Stay with WJZ all day for more reaction to the sentencing of Catherine Pugh. We'll bring you the updates throughout the evening.